everyone, this is Pat Mesiti live at 5 on a Wednesday afternoon. And tonight I want to not so much go on a rant about what's going on in the current world and stuff that's happening to our children, but I want to share with you some things that I believe are helpful. And right now, I know, sometimes the political stuff goes crazy and everyone jumps on board, but this is the good news. See, we can't build our lives on negatives and on shock and horror all the time. And believe me, there's a lot of shock and horror. Just in the last 24 hours, I've been inundated with stuff that's come to me and sent to me, not conspiracy nonsense, real stuff. But I want to talk to you about what I believe children need. Now, you say, well, what experience do you have, Pat Mesiti? Well, I'm 60 years of age. I have 3 beautiful daughters. In spite of their father, they're amazing. I have 5 incredible grandchildren, 5 amazing grandchildren who are wonderful human beings, full of life, full of personality. I've been speaking to young people for close to 42 years now. I led the largest youth movement in this country called Youth Alive. Not necessarily that I was not the national leader, but certainly had a major influence. I reached over 1 million teenagers in the high schools of this country, visited over 2,700 high school assemblies. I was a former director of Teen Challenge, a drug rehabilitation center with a staggering success rate of 86% success in all of those boys that actually come through and graduate from the program. I come to you and I speak to you as a father, as a grandfather. I want to speak to you about our children. I think it was Whitney Houston that sang that song, I believe the children are our future, teach them well and let them lead the way, show them all the beauty they possess in life. But there are some things that our children need that I really believe have been lost in our modern world, and I believe we can get them back. The first thing I really believe our children need in this age of craziness, our children need a moral compass. Now, I'm no one's moral policeman. God knows I've had my shortcomings in life and still do. I am by no means a saint, and I don't profess to be holier than thou, and I don't do that. I tell people I'm a white sheep with a lot of black spots, and guess what? So are all of you. All of us are on the same level. We are all creatures of mistakes. But our children need a moral compass. And right now, we live in such a world of grey. When you look at the cartoons now, you don't even know who the good guy is and who the bad guy is. We look at some of the stuff that we see on games, and again, I'm not trying to be a party pooper here. The violence on our screens, the violence that's on these games is just unbelievable. But our children need a moral compass. There is no right way to do a wrong thing. They need a moral compass when it comes to issues of racism. They need parents to say, you see that? That is wrong. That is evil. That is racist. They don't need agendas. They need they need to be taught that racism is wrong and we must treat all people with dignity. God has only one color. It is called red. Red. We must be a moral compass when it comes to things like respect, a moral compass when it comes to honoring authority. We don't need to honor and believe everything, but we honor an office. We honor an office. God knows over the years I've had my differences with politicians. I remember Kevin Rudd and Julia Gillard, whatever their name was. I had my headbutts with them, but I'll tell you what, if they ever walked into one of my meetings, I would still give them the honor that is due for them for their office. I may not agree. Right now we need people to teach our children to respect the police and the army. When I see people in the military or generally policemen, I will most oftentimes thank them for what they're doing because it's a thankless job. And I've got some friends in the police force. I've got some friends that are undercover police. I've got people that are in positions of influence. And if we want honor to come back, we've got to teach honor. You're not going to sow anarchy and reap respect. It's not going to happen. Number 3, we must teach our children that all life is valuable, whether it's the elderly or whether it's an unborn child. Now, I know some of you on that last one, you've got a difference of opinion to me. That's okay. You vocalize your thoughts on your platform. I'll vocalize mine on mine. I had someone the other day when I put up a post about abortion. Someone sent me a very awful message. Quite hurtful, actually. And they said, I hope this doesn't happen to you. How do you know it hasn't? This is what I don't understand about people. Not that I've had abortions in my life or anything like that, but how many of you know? All of us have been touched by the pain of someone who's got someone in their life who's autistic or struggling mentally or struggling with a physical deformity. Don't become so introspective. Teach our children that all life is to be respected. Next thing our children need is they need guidance. Now, sadly, some parents guide their children, and what they try and do is they try and live their lives vicariously through the lives of their kids. I remember my father used to say to me, when you get the bigger, you're going to be a doctor. So I just never got bigger. I just stayed short. I thought that was quite funny. What was my father doing? Sure, he wanted me to do well, and sure, he got me to go to a good school, and even though I hated school and didn't do too well. But I knew his heart. He had it tough and didn't want me to go tough. But in actual fact, it was really about him. What people in the street would say and what his kumparis and kumaris would say. And I'm not dishonoring that. But don't try and live your life vicariously through your kids. Let them learn. Let them grow. The next thing our kids need is they need protection. We need to protect our kids. We need to protect our kids. In the good book, God said, write these laws on your doorposts. When you're at the table, talk about these laws, because God wanted to give the people of Israel, to give all of humanity a guard of protection. You see, right living protects us. Bad living leaves us vulnerable. Listen, you don't want to get shot by a policeman? Don't do the stuff that causes it. And he wants to say, Pat, that's wrong, and that they're just shooting randomly. I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think so. And please don't go basing what you say on some video that's 30 seconds shot. Because where you stand will determine what you see. Where you stand. Perspective is a matter of where you stand. Come on, you all know that. When you fight with your wife or your husband or your partner or from your perspective, you're right. From their perspective, you're the enemy. But what I'm trying to say to you is this. The way we protect them is not by putting an ambulance at the bottom of the mountain. We've got to put a fence at the top. Boundaries do not restrict. Boundaries release. Discipline does not restrict. Discipline releases. Now, I know you're all waiting for me for this one. Children need love. You're right. And I don't disparage that. But how do you manifest love? Love is not an emotion. Love is a verb. Love is a doing thing. What are we leaving behind in our children? Sure, we can leave them something in our wills. Sure, we can leave them properties, lands, and everything else. But are we leaving them a legacy on how to do life? Our children need a legacy. They won't learn unless you teach. Now, teaching is not beating the living crap out of them by hounding them. Several years ago, I went to a high school in Victoria. We call Victoria now the prison state. Can't help myself, Comrade Dan, Dictator Palaszczuk, they're all part of the same hypocrisy. But I went to school and they had a serious drug problem in the school. It was very serious. I was in the lunchroom talking to the teachers at lunch and I opened the fridge and the fridge is full of booze. This is in a high school. I'd never seen that before in my life. Now, I'm not against someone having a drink. I've got no problem with that at all. I'm not against you having a beer at all. Having a glass of wine, not my problem. I closed the fridge and I hung my head down. The principal of school said, Pat, you okay? I said, no, not really. I said, how do you expect these kids to not do drugs? And I opened the fridge. I said, do you think these kids don't know what's in here? Do you think one of these kids has not been in this staff room? I closed the door. I said, this is not about a beer. This is about raising a standard. People will rise to the standards that you lead them to. If you put the standard down here, that's what we have. You have a socialist mindset, that's what you want. You want anarchy, but you want anarchy, lower the standards. You want rebellion, lower the standards. You want the disrespect for people of different races, color, or gender, just lower the standards. The higher the standards, the higher they rise. You see, we rise to challenges. We don't rise to trailer trash. Our children are looking for some prophets. I don't mean like a thus saith the Lord. I'm speaking, a prophet was someone who would predict the future. And we can predict our future by what we leave behind in our children. I hope this message inspires you. By the way, people of Victoria, our prayers are with you. Get out there. Don't be silent. Make a mark. Stand your ground. Fight the good fight. Don't give in. Don't give in. Fight this thing. It's evil. It's not good. And it's about your children. This is Pat Mesiti. By the way, this coming Saturday, Brian Tracy is coming to town. If you haven't registered your seat, we've got a few seats left. Love to have you on board for a dynamic time with the great Brian Tracy. This is Pat Mesiti. You have a prosperous life.